And we're live. Good evening, everyone. We're a little early, but hey, better late than never, right? How are you? Yeah, you caught me jamming, but that's what I do right before the show kicks off. Got to get myself all in the right frame of mind. So, how are you? Good evening. How's it going? How's life? It's Wednesday, middle of the week, Mittwoch. Mittwoch. I've said it before. It's German for Wednesday. And literal translation of Mittwoch is middle, Woch, week, middle of the week, Wednesday. So there you go. Is your German lesson of the day. Heute ist Mittwoch. Today is Wednesday. So with that, we all know what Wednesday is, because if you watch the show for more than 2 weeks, you know what it is. That's right. It is. Why is the computer asking me to restart now? Holy moly. Hopefully it doesn't restart. It's Walking Leader Wednesday, and Walking Leader Wednesday, I read from the good book. In this case, my second book, Great to Follow. It's my book because it's got my name on it right there. You can find this anywhere. Seriously, you can find it anywhere. Barnes & Noble, online, Amazon.com, and a couple of select bookstores throughout the country. Thank you to those that are carrying it. And if you haven't read it, folks, I suggest it's my book. So, of course, I'm always going to suggest that you read the book. Alrighty, so we're diving into chapter 11 from Great to Follow, the 20 rules to becoming a better follower and a leader that is great to follow. Rule number 11, volunteer, but don't look like you're volunteering. Seriously, and here's where that comes from. One of the first things you learn when joining the military is you never volunteer for anything. Don't do it. Don't volunteer. However, things happen and volunteers are needed, so you're going to get voluntold if you don't volunteer. So one day our platoon sergeant asked for a volunteer. No one was quick to volunteer. No one was quick to raise their hands. Not too happy with the response, the platoon sergeant asked again. And no one stepped up. By this point, the platoon sergeant was starting to get a little perturbed and needed a volunteer, as it was obvious he did not want to volunteer someone. And just before asking for the third and final time, the platoon sergeant informed us, if I don't get a volunteer, I will volunteer someone. And reluctantly, a hand came up from the back of the formation, back of the platoon formation. And the platoon sergeant called the young private up to the front of the formation. And when the private showed up, I did the whole, here I am and all of this. And the sergeant said, well, you're dismissed. Enjoy your day off. Stunned, everyone else in the platoon was asked to go to our training area and perform area maintenance and beautification. We had to mow the yard in our training area. The next day, the platoon sergeant formed us up again and had another assignment that needed a volunteer. And when he asked for a volunteer this time, every single hand, mine included, went up. Yep. We got motivated. We were inspired. And he didn't do it again, but it's one of those things that if I said to myself, it's a great motivation, it's a great thing. And if I'm ever in that situation where I need volunteers and I'm getting hesitance, I'm getting pushback, I'm going to do it. And guess what? I got a chance to do it one time. And it was awesome. It was fantastic. It was after that, I had no problem getting volunteers. So sometimes, yes, you need to motivate your followers. And sometimes your leaders need to think outside the box to inspire and motivate their followers. So it goes hand in hand. Be prepared. And hey, it's a great thing. So if you're ever in that situation when you need volunteers and nobody wants to do it, then, work it out. But eventually someone's going to raise their hand. They get the day off. They get the benefit. They get the free meal, whatever the situation, tickets to the movie, whatever. And everybody else out to work. That's what they get for not volunteering. So if there's one other thing I've learned from working in the military, public, and private sectors, is there will always come a time when a call for volunteers will be made. I'm not talking about volunteers to head off on a dangerous mission or to fill sandbags to prevent damage from the rising river flood. The kind of volunteer I'm talking about is for an individual or small group to do some task many would consider menial or a job no one wants to do. And to be a bit clearer, I'm talking about those things like heading the annual fundraising event for your organization, or to come in and work on the weekend, or to rake the snow. We raked snow. I'm not kidding. If you've never raked snow, well, it's one of those things. It's a military thing. Anyway, in the military, especially for those living in the barracks, there is something known as area beautification, which I have always understood and known to be as mowing the lawn, trimming the hedges, sweeping the sidewalks, raking leaves, and so on. So, however, one time an early snowfall came and coated the area with at least 2 inches of snow. The bad thing was there were still leaves on the trees, and with a strong wind accompanied the snow, and the leaves fell onto the fresh snow. Therefore, the powers that be called for the leaves to be removed. Needless to say, we were for the first time in our young lives raking snow. In addition to the situation, there was no call for volunteers, as the CQ, or the ranking non-commissioned officer, after hours and on the weekends called for everyone that was in the barracks to get out, to get to work raking the snow. And there we go. So in some cases, you're not volunteered. Some cases, you're voluntold. But in all cases, you should volunteer. Yeah, I know there's some jobs that are going to be, they got to get done. But it doesn't mean you have to volunteer for everything. It just means that you should appear that you're volunteering, that you should appear that you're that you're going to volunteer, that you do volunteer, but that you're not volunteering for every little thing that comes down the line. Because again, everybody needs to pull their weight. Everybody needs to do their fair share. Everybody needs to be delivering. If the team, if the organization, if the department is going to succeed, everybody's got to step in at one point or another. Not so long ago, somebody was asking, hey, who's going to stay late? And they came up to me, and my job was done. My job was very compartmentalized, and it was done. It was completed. There was nothing else. And they asked me, are you going to stay? And it's like, do you need me to stay? I already offered if needed to stay and help out, but they said, no, we don't need you to stay. Thank you. And that was the end of that. So again, just because sometimes they're asking for volunteers doesn't necessarily mean you're the right one. And don't be offended if you're not the right one, because again, it might not be what they need done. And again, if you got your stuff, you got your ducks in a row, you got everything good to go, then guess what? You're done for the day. And speaking of being done for the day, folks, pay attention to the situation. Look it all around. See what's going on. Volunteer or don't volunteer. But don't be voluntold. That's terrible. Okay, well, listen. It's Wednesday. It's early, but again, those of you that follow me, I got another show on a different site. So we're going to have some fun there. So be sure to follow me over there. And everyone else, have a great evening. I will talk to you tomorrow. Lessons in Leadership Thursday. And we've got a good one. So until tomorrow, have a great rest of your evening. Enjoy your Wednesday night. Have a great Thursday during the day. And I'll see you at the regular time, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, 5:30 Mountain, 4:30 Pacific. Until then, have a good evening. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.